Today, the question we're getting stuck into is whether or not Extinction Rebellion is an extremist group. The Home Office says it isn't. Perhaps the people who were late to work because activists tried to glue themselves to a train may say otherwise. On here today to have it out with us, we have Donica McCarthy from Extinction Rebellion and Rakib Ehsan as well, political commentator and author of upcoming book Manufactured Grievances. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. You should both know the drill by now, I hope, which is that you get 60 seconds each just to state your case, essentially, and then we have the wider debate from there on in. And I can tell that Donica is already itching to get involved, so I'm going to start with you, Donica, if you don't mind. 60 seconds start now, my good man. Are Extinction Rebellion an extremist group?
Before we start, I need to make a correction, sorry.
OK, go for it.
I'm not here on behalf of Extinction Rebellion. I am the climate columnist for The Independent.
OK, sorry, apologies about that. That's obviously a miscommunication there. You're the climate columnist for The Independent. Of course, you have, I believe, been involved with Extinction Rebellion in the past, is that right? Just so we're clear?
That's correct, yes.
You have been previously involved with Extinction Rebellion. OK, right, well, now we've cleared that up. Your 60 seconds start now. Are Extinction Rebellion an extremist group?
No, actually, Extinction Rebellion are a very useful servants to our liberal democracy. They're an alarm call. I compare it to a child in a cinema on fire. If the cinema is not on fire and somebody cries fire, they're an extremist. If the cinema is on fire and somebody cries fire, they are actually doing a necessary service to society. The planet's on fire. We see the Mediterranean, Siberia and California are all on fire. The government isn't taking action to save Britain's future. And so therefore, an organisation like Extinction Rebellion doing what's totally traditional in British democracy, peaceful direct action to alert us to the alarm is what is important. What is really extreme is that our oil corporations are continuing to fund billions of pounds in fossil fuels when they have known for 30 years that these fossil fuels will cost billions of pounds of damage and that threaten our very civilization. So no, Extinction Rebellion are serving a purpose to society and they're not extremists.
You're actually bang on 60 seconds. I was just about to cut you off, and I didn't need to at all. Rakib, throw over to you. 60 seconds start now. Are Extinction Rebellion an extremist group?
I think the way I would frame Extinction Rebellion is that's an ideologically radical group. I think we heard a great deal there that it's pro-democracy, but I feel that much of the behaviour that's been demonstrated by Extinction Rebellion activists are far from being in line with conventional liberal democratic behaviour. The blockading of newspaper sites, even blocking access for ambulances in London. This isn't the kind of behaviour that we would associate with respect for the rule of law, which is the cornerstone of liberal democracy. We've also seen damage to public and private property. And I think this comes to my next point, which is Extinction Rebellion, does it do more positive than negative for the broader environmental cause in the UK? I would offer the view that racial identity and sort of environmental groups such as BLM and Extinction Rebellion, they actually undermine the broader cause.
That's it, 60, there you go.
There you go. Well, Donica, respond to that. As Rakib said, look, they've damaged property, they've caused millions, I think, pounds worth of damage, they disrupt the public, and they also don't only just care about the environment, they want to destroy our very way of life. Is that not extremism?
I don't know where you got they want to destroy our way of life. What is destroying our way of life is actually climate change. If you look at the people who are being burnt alive in Turkey, in Greece, in California, that is destruction of our way of life. What we need to wake up is, have you not read the reports of the International Panel on Climate Change? That is agreed by the world scientists, backed by every single government in the world, stating that humanity is facing an existential crisis. It's not Extinction Rebellion are saying it. It's the UN General Secretary saying we're facing an existential crisis unless we wake up and stop burning fossil fuels. That is the ultimate threat to our way of life.
Do we have to destroy capitalism to do that? Do we have to remove do we have to stop capitalism in order to achieve that goal, in your view?
It's not whether it's capitalism, socialism, or whatever type of every single economic system on the planet at the moment is burning fossil fuels, whether it's communism, socialism.
So we do have to change our way of life.
What we need is to stop fossil-fueled communism, fossil-fueled capitalism, and turn it to renewable fueled capitalism or socialism or whatever your personal economics are.
Well, Rakib,
It's not an anti-capitalist movement.
Rakib, it's not an anti-capitalist movement,
No, it's not.
and that's what he says. And they don't want to destroy our way of life. We're facing an existential crisis environmentally. What do you say to that?
I think in terms of the environmental threat, there's much to agree with. But my point is that the government's extremism advisor, Lord Warney, he's expressed his anxieties over the possibility of hard left organisations infiltrating the Extinction Rebellion movement. He's talked about organisations such as the Socialist Workers' Party, and I think that's where the concern is to what extent are hard left actors within the Extinction Rebellion movement. We've heard there that the gentleman has said that it doesn't have to be an anti-capitalist organisation, but naturally that depends on the degree to which certain actors are managing to infiltrate the movement. And I feel that if it increasingly looks like an anti-capitalist organisation, which is perfectly comfortable in indulging in various forms of public disorder, then it will do a fine job in terms of alienating vast swathes of the British population to the broader environmental cause, which is a very important one.
When people were blocking ambulances getting to hospitals and people who were desperately ill were certainly not getting any better, they certainly weren't getting the care that they needed, do you condone that?
No, the Extinction Rebellion has liaised with the emergency services before every single protest. Actually, ambulances are blocked every single day of the week by fossil fuel cars in London, by traffic jams. But and thousands of people are suffering ill health and death from fossil fuels across the United Kingdom. I have been at protests where it's been amazing watching how it opens up to allow the emergency vehicles through. So what we actually need to focus on is the real extremism here, twofold. One is that the oil companies are continuing to fund trillions of dollars in destroying our planet. And secondly, that the government is moving, and with its new legislation, on bringing extremist penalties for peaceful protests. 10 years for seriously annoying somebody is like Hong Kong or China.
Well, it's taking billions off the economy as well, isn't it? To be fair, it is taking billions off the economy. When you bring London to a standstill for a week or two, it does affect people in the pocket, doesn't it? It's not just annoying people.
Yeah, but we need to actually understand here. The actual Extinction Rebellion blocked 5 junctions out of 11,000. It didn't cost billions of pounds. What is costing billions of pounds is the government has just announced a £30 billion programme to put in flood defences against the damage that the oil corporations have caused. Those oil corporations are continuing to profit by billions of pounds from destroying Britain's defences, flood defences. That's where the massive costs are. £30 million for protest is actually tiny compared to the cost of what they're protesting against. If we don't act as Extinction Rebellion calls us to act, Britain face a £1 trillion bill to protect us over the next 30 years. That's where the real extremism is.
OK, Rakib, I wanted to come back on that because actually Donica's got a point there, and it's actually reflected in an email that I'm just looking at now from Andy, who says that actually the only way to achieve essentially safety, public safety, is to adopt at times what people may call an extremist approach, to raise public attention to it and to get something done. I suppose there is that side of it, isn't there?
Well, I think that generally as a country, the mainstream takes a more authoritarian view when it comes to matters of law and order. And I think the suggestion that in order to secure public safety, you're going to undermine public safety by blocking ambulances in London, I'm not sure that's a particularly wise approach. I think that much of what we've heard, I agree with. Personally, no, please don't interrupt. Please don't interrupt. I'm personally or Bangladesh.
Well, it's not. Well, with respect, it's not unfair. They were protesting outside St Thomas's Hospital, which is where ambulances go. So, but anyway, carry on.
So I think that personally, I must.
Donica, I don't know. Yeah, outside St Thomas's Hospital, right?
Okay. Yeah, so personally, being of Bangladeshi origin, I'm deeply concerned by flooding, rising sea levels. So these are very important issues. The gentleman has also discussed wildfires in various parts of the world. What I'm saying is, in order to promote those causes, is the best way of doing that by disrupting commuter journeys in working class parts of London? I'm not so sure.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, go on, Donica, come back. Okay, what was that? Have we reached an agreement?
Yes, I personally agree that, that was an unfortunate one act that they did. But actually, what I do agree with is this week they're actually blockading banks in the centre of London that are pouring billions into destroying Britain. I think that's a good target. So I think maybe we agree on that.
Do you think, Donica, that there's any chance whatsoever of us hitting a net zero target? Do you think it's a shame, perhaps, that in order to hit that, some of the people towards the lower end of the economy are hitting the pocket more, buying electric cars, for example, you know, whether it's re-insulating your house and this, that and the other? It's people like me, maybe, who cop it, as opposed to the big oil barons.
Well, what actually, if the government brought in, the International Energy Agency has said there needs to be a global moratorium on new fossil fuel investments. That would allow $3 trillion to be invested in saving us rather than actually penalising poor people. But we do actually need to acknowledge that most people in Britain are rich comparatively internationally, and they live very rich lifestyles, flying around the world, big cars, etc., and that needs to be addressed.
Like
And Rakib, you don't seem convinced with that. What?
I think if you want to promote environmental causes domestically, I don't think this kind of global villager philosophy and socialist internationalism is the way forward. If I'm being completely talking about how the vast majority of British people are far more better off than people living in other parts of the world, that is not an attractive way to integrate people into a greater level of environmental consciousness. So for me, my issues with the Extinction Rebellion is ultimately down to the political messaging, and I don't really agree with many of the methods which are disruptive when it comes to public order.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.